Hi, I'm Michelle and this is Michmash. Today I'm filming my October wrap-up. I read quite a bit in October and I was pretty pleased with the books I read. I really enjoyed pretty much all of them, so let's just jump into it. The first thing I read was a novella, and I actually listened to it as an audiobook on a road trip me and my boyfriend did. I chose this audiobook that was like a collection of a bunch of different stories that were kind of sci-fi related, and we just randomly picked this one, which ended up being, I think, like 6 hours or 4 or 6 hours, something like that, so it was pretty long. And it was called The Man Who Sold the Moon by Cory, Doctorow. And this was so good. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Me and my boyfriend both really enjoyed it. It was the perfect thing to listen to. It was there was kind of a lot of different things happening in the story. It really evolved. It starts out, he meets this guy, they become friends, they go to the Burning Man together, and they create this thing that is kind of a 3D printer, and they create tiles, make little huts out of it, and then they live there. And that sounds like such a strange storyline, but and it was also like quite technical. Like, Ian's an engineer, so he was quite, enjoying the technical part. I probably didn't quite get that as much, but I didn't really find it that boring, and the author just really was able to have emotional moments in the story. And we both cried a few times, so it was just really good. And if you are looking for a shorter audio book to listen to on a road trip, maybe with some people that are more into science and stuff, I really recommend that one. I'll link below where I was able to find the book I was able to find it in, because I don't know if it's like super available. So then the next thing I read was Names for the Sea by Sarah Moss. I have done a book review for that book already, so I will link that below and above. But I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars, I think, 4.5 maybe, but there was a couple things I mentioned in the book review that I just didn't quite love about it. It was more just things that annoyed me, but generally I loved the writing. I loved reading about Iceland. I feel like I've mentioned it a few times, but just in case you don't know what it's about it's a memoir about this woman who moves to Iceland with her family for a year and just meets different people and tells their stories and what she learns about moving to a different country, Iceland specifically, and yeah, it was just really well written. I definitely want to read more books by her. Then the next thing I read was Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi. And this was really good. I did this as a book. I did this as a buddy read with Michelle from Michelle is Life. I will link her channel below. And we had a great time reading it together. It was nice because each chapter, I'm sure everyone knows what this is about, but it starts out with 2 sisters. They are in Ghana, and then it follows. Each chapter is a different generation from each sister. It follows their storylines. And it was a good book to buddy read with. It was really heartbreaking, and one of the things that really stuck out to me in this book was that even at the points where it was like 1900s, 1800s in America, slavery and things, there was just so much of it that still is relevant today, sadly. And then, I mean, I read this before the election, but anyway, I don't want to get into all that. I am Canadian, so I don't really feel like I have a place to say too much of that. But it was a very excellent book. I really recommend it. Michelle and I both thought that this should be a book read in school. High school, definitely, because there are a few points that are some sexual content and things like that. Yeah, very highly recommend this one. Very glad I read it. And I also watched this interview with Yaa Gyasi on a Canadian radio show called Q. And I'll link that below too, because it was really interesting and it was cool to see her and see how she speaks in person. I just thought I should probably try and watch more interviews with authors. I really enjoyed that. The next thing I read was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I know that a whole bunch of This is totally upside down. And the background. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and absolutely loved it. I really didn't know what to expect going into this book. The general premise is that this young girl marries this older man and moves to his home, Manderley. All the servants and everyone in the town really loved Rebecca, this man's first wife, and the main character starts to just get obsessed with her and kind of like feel very inferior to this former wife. And that is the main premise, but it gets into like really interesting territory and pretty big twists and turns in it, and it was just really fun read. I also gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars, and yeah, really enjoyed that. And I'm really excited to watch the Hitchcock movie. If anyone's watched that, let me know how it is. I finally finished, I started it a couple months ago, was Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I was reading this on my phone, so I just kind of would forget about it for a while and then go back into it. I liked it, but I feel like that wasn't the best format for me to read it in. I probably would have been able to read it a lot faster if I had had a physical copy. But I enjoyed it. Also, Frankenstein was quite surprising to me. I didn't really know what the storyline is, and I don't really want to give anything away because I feel like with some of those classics, you have an idea in your mind of what it is about, and it's kind of fun to read it and actually see what the story is. So I highly recommend reading it. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars just because I found it to be really dragging. But I really, when I'm looking back on it, I enjoyed it, and I feel like I should probably read it again sometime. And then the last thing I read in October was We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson, and this is the first Jackson I've ever read, and I liked it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought that it was very strange and kind of mysterious. There's like a mysterious element about it, but not too wacko for me. And yeah, I mean, if you don't know this one, this is the story of 2 sisters who've been kind of ostracized from the rest of their village because the rest of their family died by poison, and the village people assume that this one sister killed the rest of her family, although she was acquitted of it in court. And yeah, so it's just kind of about how they cope or don't cope, and yeah, it was interesting, and it was a good timely read for around Halloween. This video is like so much later into November than I wanted it to be, and I feel like I'm not as jazzed about the books. I really enjoyed all of them, and I'm just not sure if that really was conveyed in this video. I feel like a little bit out of practice because I just haven't been filming as many videos lately. I will see you later in another video. Thanks so much for watching.